are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, everyone. It is Soul Wanderings night, and Soul Wanderings is a show about journey stories, and we are hanging out here on the best in alternative talk radio, KGRAradio.com, heard throughout our universe on Wednesdays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And each week we get to wander with a new guest about their authentic experiences through this human journey. And it's so wonderful to be with you tonight. I am AJ Rasmussen, and I'm an owner and manager of a heart-centered healing space. And every day I get to assist others in their personal experiences. I also have this amazing opportunity to be your host of Soul Wanderings. And you guys, I have missed you. Hello. Thank you for your patience the last couple of weeks while I didn't have a producer. As many of you know, our fantastical producer, Bill, who is producing for me tonight along with Eric. Thank you, fellas. His mom had some things come into her health awareness that they were able to address and take care of. And thank goodness for that. And Bill, you are so supportive. You're such a great son to be right by her side. So totally supported you in that and sending tons of healing vibes over to Ma at this time. And in addition, Race and Robin are brand new grandparents of a baby girl this week. So congratulations to you both and your family. How exciting to have this new little blessing in your life. Just love those little bundles of joy. So good. For those of you who are new, or just as a reminder to those who are not, I hang out in the chat room during the show, and it's a wonderful place for you to be, especially if you find yourself with a question that you want to ask our guest. And I try to grab as many of those as I possibly can. So make sure you head on over to kgraradio.com/chat. And I really hope to find you there with myself and all of the other wanderers. Well, let's not wait. Let's begin our wandering. He swore after his divorce that his next marriage would be different. So when his second marriage crumbled almost a decade later for nearly the same reasons, he obviously was devastated. He felt like a complete failure. All he could see was hopelessness on the horizon. But he was determined to find another way. He was not going to be that guy who bounced from marriage to marriage, never really learning anything. So he found someone to mentor him and explored his past. He read a lot of books, dedicating himself to doing the deep research about all things love. He had deep conversations with people he loved, and he did the deep transformations that unlocked his heart and released his soul to love as he had always imagined. Love and how to make it lasting has now become his calling. And by now, you all know I'm a sucker for anything love-related. So please join me in welcoming our guest tonight, Dr. Gary Salyer. Hello, Gary.
Hello, AJ. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Welcome to Soul Wanderings.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. I'm really excited that you're here because I feel like this topic that you are so passionate about is something that every single person in this entire planet could relate to.
Yes, love is a universal need. It really is. And we are sorely in need of more of it these days.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Before we get started, though, to discuss your book and the passions that created this these writings that we're going to be listening about tonight, I want to get to know you on a personal level because it is Soul Wanderings, and we get tons of time to spend with you and connect with you on all the levels. So the loaded question, and I love asking everybody this right away, is we'd love for you to share some things about yourself. So who is Dr. Gary Salyer?
Gosh, now that's an interesting question. Thank you for asking. I really am a lifelong learner, and I'm just a soul on a passage to, I signed up for some deep learnings when I signed up for this incarnation, to be honest, this life. And I'm here to do a big purpose, and that's kind of who I am. And there's still a part of me that's 7 years old. Every time I read something new that's truly new, I still have the same reaction at 7 as when I saw my first dinosaur. You can catch me going, ooh, and I realize I've never outgrown that 7-year-old who's just here to learn about life.
Oh, that's really great that you keep that 7-year-old so close to you. If more of us could have that.
Yeah, every once in a while he comes out, and it's like, there we are. There he is again. So,
do you feel like that has a lot to do with your life journey and your life path in the way that you connect with your younger self?
Oh, yeah. I have never outgrown a sense of curiosity, and it really is a fascination with what we can learn, what we can know, and just feeling what life should be and what life can be. That kid was a visionary. He was, he grew up in an alcoholic family, and he was always aware that life could be more. Life needed to be more than what he was seeing. And there was sort of a passion in him to figure out why people didn't love each other more, and what really is the sky's limit. That kid loved astronomy, and I don't know that I want to ride into a moonshot these days, but I do believe I'm still reaching for the stars of my destiny, to be honest with you.
Good. That's good. We often lose that vision, those things that really pique our curiosity and want us to reach further.
Yeah. And why
That's
lose that
awesome.
curiosity? It's a birthright.
I couldn't agree more. I absolutely agree with that completely. Yes. It is a birthright. Just like I'm a big believer that our gifts are a birthright, and you obviously have many gifts.
Well, thank you very, very, very much. We try to be. And any gifts I was given was here to be of service. I learned that in third grade. My third grade teacher knew I was intellectually gifted. This little standard test had proven that. And I can still remember Mrs. Graham telling me at the beginning of third grade, you were gifted, but you weren't given those gifts to serve yourself, Gary. She goes, you could help people understand. And then she invited me to help teach science class and stuff. And she really set a tone for my life. I have to say that, because she really made me aware that whatever gifts I was given, it was here to help other people see, to know, to understand. And I don't think I've ever forgotten the leading that she led me to see for why I was here on the planet.
Yeah, obviously she left quite an impact on you to remember such a moment from the third grade.
Oh, yeah. And we are here to serve. Isn't that what love is? Being of service to one another,
Yes.
helping each other out, having each other's backs. I mean, which one of us doesn't need a circle of people around us like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I really like that that's something that you believe in, and you can feel that when you share. And I got a moment to review some of, well, your agent sends me over a little blip about you and your book and things like that. And it's quite interesting, some of the things that you share. And obviously you base this not just from your experiences, but you had that research afterwards, after the experiences that you had. And for anyone on any level, no matter where they're at in life, whether they're single or in a relationship or contemplating a new relationship or whatever that look like, there are so many. I I, I don't want to call them tips. That kind of sounds corny, but there are tips on how to have those amazing relationships. But what I really enjoy is the digging deeper part of it, like into your own self.
Yeah. And what part of that, and what part of digging deeper um, caught your eye?
Well, when you look at your past behaviors and patterns, from what little bit I have here of your
Hmm.
your book, it it really does set a platform for you in your relationships on how you open yourself to love or accept love from others.
Oh, absolutely. You know, what I talk about in the book are these six rights. And once you see them, it's kind of an eye-opening experience that our brain between 0 and 3 is being given six rights. They're like templates for how we create experience, what sort of love we can have, what sort of relationships we create. And not only that, but the funny thing about the brain is it takes these little templates, these permission slips that I call rights, and it swaps them out for things in business or success or sometimes even health. So it becomes like love is the operating system, as I said in the book. Whatever template we got for our relationships tends to become a way we look at life. And like, so early on we're given a right to exist or not. If we're welcomed into the world, then it's okay to be in our bodies, to not just be in our heads, to have a really great connection and to feel like the earth is a cozy place for you to be in. And it feels good being here in the present, being now, being in your body. There's also a right to reach out and have your needs met, where you feel worthy and nourished. And when you feel worthy, it's okay to reach out and to take and receive back. So you don't tend to reach out for takers. You reach out for people that make you feel worthy back. That's what worthy people do. They reach out to people only that make them feel worthy. So they don't take. Yeah, they don't get caught in too much giving. If you have all of these six rights, then it's easy to reach out. It's only when early experience said, "Oh, it's not good to reach out. It's not good to be here in your body." That's when there's predictable problems, because love needs all six rights to be full and warm and cozy and loving.
Mm. And you talk about those six rights in your book. And
do. Yeah.
I do want to get into them if you're willing to share. If you're willing to share that through our wandering for the next, hour and a half or so, I'd really like to go over those six rights because I think they're so powerful. And even if someone realizes what their right is, if you will, validation is also very amazing to have.
It is, and we got plenty of time to go over. That's one
Yes,
thing
we
about
do.
this. Plenty of time. I don't have to speed dial everything for this one.
Yeah, isn't that great? That's one of the things I really enjoy about my show is we actually get time to have like this organic conversation. We don't have to hurry and speed it in a 30-minute interview about yourself, which is really great. So I don't want to jump quite into the book right away. I know I kind of led us there a little bit, but I really want people to know where we're going and what your teaching is all about. But obviously, there's so much more to you. You've been through a couple of marriages yourself, which led you down this path.
I have.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I know a lot of people have been married. Two marriages is actually common anymore. They always say the third's the charm. You learn something in the first one, you learn a little more in the second one, and the third one, you're like, oh yeah, I've got this.
Well, after the first divorce, there's a lot of people that do this. It's obviously her fault or his fault, right? Or you say, oh, it looks like men are this or women are that, right? Because I had this mantra with my first therapist saying, all women are. Or afterwards, and we had this mantra back, some women. But then the second time, it's a little harder to start blaming it and on yourself. And then after I had some painful relationships afterwards, one day I was just shaving, getting ready for work the day after a very painful breakup. And when I looked at it, I said, this is like the 56th relationship where the same pattern has showed up. There isn't anybody here that's got anything in common with this except for you, son. And you're the one that's got blame on this one. And that was when I truly began to look at what's the work I have to do so that this pattern, this Groundhog Day that keeps showing up where either I create distance or I pick someone that has all sorts of distance in the relationship. I said, how do I get out of this Groundhog Day? There was a moment where I had my Bill Murray moment where what do I need to learn to get out of this?
Mm-hmm. That's a good place to be, too. I like being in those places of looking back and seeing what my role is in it so that I'm able to grow myself, like actually do something with the experience than have it be in vain, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. Marcus Aurelius once said, the philosopher Caesar from the Roman Empire said, there's no such thing as a wasted experience. I would only like to add, if we learn from it.
Right.
But, that's the only thing I would add to Sir Marcus.
Or we'll continue down the road of Groundhog Day. And I'm not sure who really likes that. It could be very frustrating.
Oh, it is. Nobody likes being on Groundhog Day. And that's kind of, and for me, all of this really started with that 7-year-old when I said, I'm not going to have all these divorces in the family, right? And then so when I went to college, I had 2 degrees, religion and psychology, to say, hey, it was all an attempt to make sure I never have a divorce like anybody else. And then when my professor in psychology gave me a personality test my senior year, calls me in for all the results, and as I'm walking out the door, he says, oh, by the way, you got a 90% chance of having a divorce. So imagine.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, just floored me. I literally delayed graduation and went a 5th year of college to get a 3rd degree in marriage and family. Figured, dodge that bullet. And then 12 years later, there it comes again, a divorce. And I'm going, how did this happen? At that point, I did 7.5 years of therapy. I said, this time I'm going to wipe this thing out. And then the second marriage, within a few months, I saw it all showing up again. And it was really heartbreaking. And it was afterwards when I did more therapy and realizing that who I was picking or how I was showing up was always the same pattern. Either I created distance or I found someone who would do the honors for me. I said, something's up. And that was when I said, if degrees in therapy didn't crack the code, if they didn't change my core style of relating, because all I was doing was managing pain. I hadn't truly transformed, I should say, my core way of being in a relationship. I looked at myself and I said, if they can't crack the code, I will. And it became a soul-level purpose of using my experience, doing the research, working with clients to say what truly allows us to change deeply so we become secure in love. We can create the same relationships, the good relationships that are lasting, like the couples that are married 25 years and they're still looking and gazing in each other's eyes when they're having dinner on a Friday night.
Yeah, that good stuff.
That good stuff. Yeah, I want to know what was going on in their brains, and then I wanted it. Yeah.
Well, obviously you cracked the code, or you would be sitting here having this conversation with me today, on this level anyway.
Thank you.
That's really great.
I did. I think that's why I can.
Yeah, it's really exciting too. I myself have been divorced twice, but I got married and divorced, all within 10 years, because I realized shortly after both marriages that I it wasn't good. It wasn't right.
Yeah.
That I had a lot of work to do on myself. And same situation after the first one. I was like, hey, I'm not going to do this again until I fix or, correct A, B, and C. Thought I had it figured out, and I didn't. And I've been divorced for 10 years and quite happy with where I'm at. That's definitely not on my radar, but it's been really good for me because I've learned who I am, and I've healed those things that weren't working for me or weren't helping me in any relationship, even
Mhm.
out friendships, relationships with my family, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good to do that inner work. And right along with that, with what you were talking about with the 6 rights, which we'll get into when we get back from the commercial break, but even knowing what my rights were, same thing
Mhm.
that you'll be sharing with us, it was so powerful to realize, like, I am already love, and I don't need to seek for love outside of myself. And
I,
I'm worthy of that love if that comes my way.
that's that's exactly what we're talking about. That gut level feeling. I'm
Yeah.
worthy. Absolutely.
Yes.
Love
Yeah,
that
the
feeling.
good stuff, the important stuff.
Yes.
It really is too. And so many of us who have been married will say, I'm never doing that again. I never want that again, because we don't realize how magical it really can be if we apply the work, do the work for ourselves. And we're
Yeah.
really doing ourselves a disservice because, as humans, we are better when we have a companion, I feel. It
Oh, we're wired for it. We
Yeah,
really are.
definitely. Definitely. And I know a lot of people, I know I'm going to get some emails on this one that they're fine being alone and they don't need anybody, but I really don't believe that. And that's an attitude I used to take years and years ago, but I don't feel that way anymore. I really feel like we are wired, just like you said, to have that companionship and to have these relationships.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you think about it, probably everybody out there who's been past has had, something like food poisoning. Nobody has a really bad taco that gives them food poisoning for a day or two and says, "I'm never going to eat again." Love is a birthright. I don't know how many times I've had clients, especially women who've been through a couple of divorces or bad relationships. They go, I'm just going to concentrate on myself. And a lot of times they're building businesses, and I got to concentrate on the business. And the surprise is that they thought they had to build a business to do whatever else in their life before they could come back to love, which is a strategy to making sure they stay out of love. But when they find love, they find out, oh my God, I had the support to finally accomplish what I wanted to do. That love is empowering. And it's that idea, it's that feeling that love can empower me. Which one of us doesn't want to be empowered? That's what love is supposed to make us feel, empowered. And if we can make that shift, then love feels natural. Who doesn't want a little more power out there? A little more inner support from someone who deeply cares and knows you. What's not
Right.
to love about that?
Right. That's a good question. And have you ever had anyone say, I don't?
No, not when you put it like that.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
Although I've seen a few looks sometimes that said, "But I'm going to wait a while before I do
Yeah.
it."
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, really, it's
Yeah.
good to get to know yourself. And I really feel part of the biggest thing for me was dating myself, like taking
Mhm.
me out and learning the things that I like and the characteristics I enjoy in others, and really taking that time, I feel, was so beneficial.
Yeah, we have to carry really good positive feelings about ourselves to give it to anybody else.
Yeah.
And then it's what I call right to separate and belong. We have a right to separate and rebuild our me and to really figure out who the me is. But we also have a right to be in a we. And so then we've rebuilt the me. Then it's time to reach out when that time was available. I'm not saying necessarily at the moment. I don't know your life that much, but there's an ebb and flow. But at some point in time, the me deserves to be supported in a really good way.
That feels really good. Thank you for sharing. We are Soul Wandering with Dr. Gary Salyer this evening. And you guys, we're just taking our very first break, so we still have a lot more to come. Make sure you stay here with us, because when we get back, we're going to dive in deeper to this book that Dr. Gary Salyer has written, Safe to Love Again, How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. We'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to try to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. And recently I started having a nagging bicep pain and I couldn't lift weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend of mine, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in the veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and I'm back in the gym full strength. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com, ANGIOPRIM.com. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim helps promote cardiovascular health. Talk to a trained consultant, or you can call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-8221. That's 877-882-7221. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Hi, Matt Ray with America's First News here, and I have great news for those of you who suffer with debilitating migraine headaches, maybe a loved one or your child does. MigraLief, the nutritional migraine supplement everyone's talking about, now can be found at the vitamin shop stores nationwide and Meijer in the Midwest. For almost 2 decades, hundreds of thousands of migraine sufferers have benefited from MigraLief, and thousands of neurologists and headache specialists recommend it. Why is it popular? It's drug-free and addresses the specific nutritional needs of adults and children who suffer migraines. What's even better, MigraLief comes in a formula you can take daily and one on the spot as needed. So if you get migraines, get your life back on track. Go to MIG911.com. That's MIG and the numbers 911.com. That's also where you can read the testimonials. Or head on over to your local vitamin shop store nationwide or Meijer in the Midwest. If you get migraines, do yourself a favor. Change your life with MigraLief.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hello, welcome back to Soul Wanderings, hosted here on KGRAradio.com. We are here wandering with our guest this evening, Dr. Gary Salyer, author of Safe to Love Again, How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. That's a powerful title, Gary.
Thank you. And I kind of got lucky. Marcy Shimoff, who helped write a couple of books for us, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and has a few New York Times herself, we were at a retreat together, and she gave me the title. I was led, little, Reese's Pieces at a time through the woods, so to speak, on this book. That was given to me years ago. Yeah.
I love how these little nuggets just come into our awareness and we're able to piece them together and create this kind of magic.
Yeah,
The
we
kind
went
of
out.
magic
We had
that you're
break,
sharing.
and we went out. We had a break. We went out at this retreat we're at, and she and I just went out for a 20-minute walk, during break. And she asked me what the title of my book was, and at the time I said Resisting Love, and I told her the book, and she goes, I love your book. She goes, but I can't stand your title. And since she had 6 New York Times bestsellers and she came up with Safe to Love Again, I said maybe I should listen. So there's been a lot of guidance along the way as to the universe I actually think the universe wanted this book out. That's what I think.
Ooh, good. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you if you feel that those people or those thoughts, they come from somewhere, from a greater place to guide us to be able to do this, to give our gifts to the world. Those little juicy nuggets.
Oh, it was incredible while I wrote this book. Every time I needed something, it magically showed up in my field of attention.
Oh, I
it
love
just did.
That's so
almost serendipitously. So it was uncanny. The universe just fed me piece by piece what I needed.
Do you feel like that's validation that you're on the right path?
Oh yeah. It was definitely that. I knew I was being guided. I even had people that knew me said, you're being guided, right? And it was just telling people that. And I'm grateful because I actually, every weekend when I was writing, I had a Friday night ritual where I would just bow. And I said to the universe, you know what I know. And you just show me what I need to say. Just guide me. Mm-hmm. And that's actually what's behind the book. I told the universe, this book is about love, and it needs to be bigger than about me. So help me make it so.
And voila, here it is.
Yeah.
I like that you're sharing your connection to the universe, where we talk a lot about spirituality here and, angels and anomalous, paranormal, all kinds of stuff. I really like that you are bringing this to our awareness that that's something that you did do.
Oh, I can still remember I was writing one chapter, and this is uncanny. I have a pretty good memory with a PhD, and I said, I need a really good couples exercise for this. And all of a sudden, I thought of a book by Debbie Ford that I hadn't read in 6 or 7 years, and I saw a page number, and I opened up, and there was what I was looking for. And now go explain that. It's not like I memorized this book in my memory. There were little things like that, and it was uncanny. Some of the things are, I need a really good illustration. And I to start off one chapter, and I said, I'm just going to look at Facebook for a second. Lo and behold, in the Facebook feed is this little cute video that became the opening story for one of my chapters. Just perfect for what I needed that moment. And I just said 10 minutes before, okay, what's the story that grabs the reader for this chapter? All sorts of things like that.
I really like that. I think it's so neat when people are passionate about what they're doing and then they get validation from the universe that, yes, what you're feeling is exactly where you're meant to be, and let me prove it to you.
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your book, Safe to Love Again.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We have brought up a couple of times the 6 rights, and I don't know if that's a good place to start or if there's another place you'd like to begin first in sharing what your book is all about.
No, I mean, it's a funny little, yeah, there are 6 rights I talk about, and each of them gives you a reference feeling for life, for love, I should say. And there's actually only 4 feelings. But between 0 and 3, these are just little templates, little permission slips that we get from early experience. And it doesn't mean that later experience can't sometimes influence it. But do you have a right to exist? And that's when the little one is welcomed into the world, like, oh, so glad you're here, little AJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we feel like we have a right to be here. We have a right to be in our bodies. And we can be connected to not just our intellect, but all of us. And the world is safe. Then there's what I said, the right to have your needs met. If we are well attuned to and parents notice what we need, and if they get it wrong, then they work to get it right, like good moms do and good dads do. Then we feel worthy and nourished. And that allows us to, when we feel worthy, we reach out. And we not only reach out, but we can take in. And love becomes a balance of giving and taking, not an all me give or all me take.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another one. Once the child becomes a toddler, around 6 to 12 months, they get mobility. And there's a stunning realization. Before 6 months, they pretty much have the idea that they, especially mommy, are one. But then when they get mobility, they go, wow, isn't that weird? I'm over here, but she's over there. Dad's over there. What's that mean? Oh my God, I'm a me. It's the first time. And then it's all about being a me, going over and playing with my own toys, crawling over there by myself. But if you notice, every baby wants to make sure that mom and dad are in the room. They cry when you leave the room, right? They know they need backup. They need support. They want to be watched. They want to be seen. Later on, when people say, I don't feel seen, I know it's probably this right that's got something going on with it. So they get to be a me and a we, not one or the other. This one gets split. We get all we, so we're enmeshed and we can't be a me, or we're all me and we're like the Marlboro mate. And neither of those will create lasting love. Most couples, when they are in dire straits, this right is at the bottom. There's either too much we or too much me. And it's a Goldilocks zone. Then there's the right to create your own experience where you get to be all of you, good, bad, strong, weak. And you get a chance to create your own experience. You don't have to have someone else be the template for you or the standard for what you get to have that. Then after that, and that gives you the feeling of empowered with choice. I should say the feeling you get from the right to separate and belong is you get to feel cherished and protected. Then the rights that give you a feeling of empowered with choice are the right to create your experience and the right to assert. The assert is I get to have a voice. I get to have choice. Someone shares influence with me, and I get to have my wins. We both get to have our wins. Once you get to be about 3, the brain adds up. Oh, do I feel worthy, welcomed, cherished, and empowered? And if so, then you get the bonus right. A full right to love and be loved. That means I get to love and be loved right back. And of course, as we get older, there's a sexual dimension that gets added as a result of basically adolescence. So it's the right to have partnership and passion in the same great relationship. When this gets split, you often hear people say, how come the hot ones and the good ones can't be in the same package? That's a split. Right. So once you have these 6 beautiful rights, right to exist, a right to have your needs met, right to separate and belong, a right to create your own experience, a right to assert, and a right to love and be loved. And all of those are used to create a we as well as a me. The we is very important. Mm-hmm. You've got everything you need to pick and choose and create and keep and maintain a love that lasts.
Those feel really good. I love the first one, that the right to exist. Mm-hmm. I think that is so powerful. We're conditioned at such an early age for so many experiences that we may have that's not really the case. And it's such an important It's such an important foundation to know that we have the right to exist and have our needs met. And I like how you have broke them down into 6 different ones, and they all are about us as well as myself. So we as well as a me, as you put it.
Yes.
We get so lost in relationships. We're either giving, and we lose ourselves, or we're losing ourselves in the receiving because we make it all about what we're getting out of it.
Exactly. Well, let's say someone says, I'm afraid of love because I lose myself. Okay, let's look at that. Sometimes, every once in a while, I keep giving, and it's because I have no right. I don't really feel worthy, so I don't have a right to reach out and have my needs met. But most of the time, it can be either one of two rights. If I lose myself, it could be because I got way more right to be a we than a me. No right to be a me, and that will create. And so I got all right to be enmeshed, but never to separate. Or I got no right to create my own experience. Somebody else gets to be the experience. I got to separate, but I have to create it on their terms. Most times when people have come to me with that, I lose myself, I know it's usually one of those two missing rights that isn't there. They either don't feel cherished or they don't feel empowered. Mm-hmm. And the key is to restore that feeling that gives right. The feeling of cherished gives us the right to be a me and a we. The feeling of empowered allows us to create our own experience. If we can give them back the feeling of cherished and empowered, they will no longer get lost in a we. There'll be a proper me and a proper we, and love will feel very, very different. But that's the key, giving them back so they feel it in the core of their body. I am cherishable, and I am empowered. And those people don't tend to get lost in relationships.
Mm.
That's how the theory works in just once. Yeah.
Excuse me, I had a tickle in my throat. So is that part of the rewiring the brain that you refer to? Because that's not, obviously it's a learned behavior, but we can unlearn what we learned.
Exactly. The book is called Safe to Love Becomes. What I say is these 6 rights. Now, if we're given the experience where we feel welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered, these are the feelings that allow us to have these rights. But what if you weren't welcomed? Let's take that one. Because when I was born, my mother was really wanting a girl. So much so that my Aunt Evelyn once told me that I wore pink for the first 6 months of my life. But there was another story I found out when I was 15 that explained a great many things. She was so disappointed that she didn't name me for 3 weeks in the state of Ohio. I had to send some people called state troopers to the house and they arrived at the door and knocked and said, "Ma'am, it's been 3 weeks. You have to name your child." And she was so upset. She goes, "I'm not going to name him." And I guess from according to Evelyn, the state trooper said, "Ma'am, if you don't name him now, we can take you to a place where you'll have all the time in the world to think about it." And that's when they came up with her 2 favorite movie stars, Gary Cooper and Dean Martin. Now, that's not a lot. I didn't get a lot of welcome but joy. So for a long time, you could predict, because the pattern is when you're not allowed to be here, you don't want to be in your body, you feel all that rejection. Where is it easier? Easier to float above your an intellectual land, right, or spiritual land, right? It's easier to be spiritual or intellectual than to be in your body and feel all of your feelings. And that's what I did. You could almost predict someone with a PhD with a bent towards spirituality, right, from that experience. And of course, if you're in your head, you're not in your feelings, and how can you really attune? So it was not an accident. My first wife, whom I loved very much, constantly complained that she didn't feel loved. She felt lonely because I was in the marriage, but I wasn't in her heart. And that's what a split right a missing right to exist can do. So giving back welcomed meant I could welcome someone into my life in a new way that felt attuned, embodied, relational. That's how it is. And so, but at one point in time, escaping above life, above my body, where there's all that emotional pain of rejection, was the best deal available.
Mm.
And in every missing right, and if you're out there listening, if you go, oh, I don't know that I have that right, something's wrong with me. No, something's actually very right with you, because at one point in time, your brain took the best deal available. And we like that part of your brain. It kept you on the planet, and it protected you until you could get to the place where you could restore your rights. So by taking the right offline, it's like those old layaway plans they used to, where they would stick things away in the back of the storage for till Christmas. It wasn't safe then, so the brain safely tucked it away so you could reclaim it now. So nothing's wrong. It's just updating an old security memo that didn't get an expiration, giving your brain a better deal now.
Wow. What an interesting way to look at it. It really is about digging deeper, and our childhoods really play such a huge role. Even the way we come into this experience from birth, it just blows my mind how it all connects and works out, and how you go into that safe mode, and how self-perseverance. So I think that it's just incredible how it works out. It's similar to when I work with people who've gone through trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this. It's the same thing kind of to me. A widget's a widget, but the same kind of thing. We dig deeper and go to the root of that belief. And, almost always it's something from childhood.
Well, I've reframed trauma too. So what good thing is trauma doing? Trauma, let's say to look at PTSD, post-traumatic stress. Okay?
Right.
Okay, disorder. So, the brain is replaying, force-feeding memories, right? So once I was dealing with a session with a woman whose husband had a 3.5-year affair. And it was, 6-9 months later, she still got these feelings and these pictures running in, and she was in, they'd worked a lot of things through, but she was still having this force feeding of memories. And I just said to her, well, it's a form of PTSD. Everybody that's been through an affair, the one who was betrayed, it feels like the universe just lost all the laws of gravity.
Right.
And that's just it's a natural form of PTSD. And she looks at me, and this shows you how the brain knows it's more than just pathology. She looked at me and said, I am not an Iraqi war victim. I don't want to be pathologized like that. And I looked at her and I said, all PTSD is past trouble seeking a do-over. That's it. And she looks at us, past trouble seeking a do-over? I go, yeah, that's all your brain's doing. It's just trying to pull it up again and again so you can work it through. Past trouble seeking a do-over. You're good for that? She goes, yeah, I'm good for that.
Oh, yeah, I like that a lot.
That's all it is.
I like looking at it that way, because you're right. That is all that it is. And we are replaying these experiences over and over and over. And I recently did hear about that where the person who the affair was, so in her situation where someone had an affair on her, or her husband had an affair on her, it would be traumatizing, but you wouldn't look at it as PTSD because we are so conditioned to feel like that's someone who's gone through something really traumatic. But for her, that was traumatic.
It is for everyone. If you think about it, when you get in a relationship, it's like we expect that person to be there, right?
Yeah.
We expect them to be the safety net, the hierarchy of our life. That's the right to separate and belong. And all of a sudden, it's like you're walking along and your whole world gets blown up. Suddenly, everything you thought was true about your life isn't working. That's obviously your brain's got to work that one through.
Right.
I've had a relationship where that happened, and it blows you out of the mind. It's like a minefield going off in your head, because everything you assumed was true was now, torn apart. And it is, but I like to see it. I don't like doing a lot of pathologizing. I just like to see the brain the brain is infinitely resourceful, unless there's something really, really organic going on. Okay, but for most people with what I call normal middle class craziness, like you and I have, our brain is resourceful. It's better to add resources than to say, "Oh, look, here's a label. You're,
right.
You've got generalized anxiety."
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of labels. I don't think that helps anything.
No. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, "Gosh, can I have a label?" I think that's some of the problem with, what I'm doing in the book is called attachment theory. It's the science of how our brains are wired for intimate relationships. It's a new theory of how we get wired. But when people find out, there's people with a secure love style, people that get married for 30 years, and there's people who are anxious, who are always afraid love's going to go away. They kind of the drama kings and queens, and the avoidance. Those are the ones that are dismissive of emotions and they don't want to commit. They want to keep their distance. One's the Marlboro mate, the other one's the drama king or queen, right? When a lot of times they've read books out there about attachment theory, and they think, "Oh, I'm avoidant. Oh, I'm anxious," and it's like and then they think, "I got a label," and the label might as well say, "I'm screwed." That's the problem. The label doesn't fix anything, but just saying, "No, yeah, you've got some avoidant and anxious in you, but you're anxious because you lost your right to create your experience, and maybe you had more right to love than to be loved." If we could just give you back a couple of feelings like cherished and lovable, to make it safe, and find out the moment it wasn't safe, and just help your brain take a better deal, your brain will automatically pick and choose better. That feels a whole lot better than saying, "I am avoiding." No, you have, at one point in time, it was safer to withdraw and be avoidant than it was to be in the we. It was safer to be anxious and want to lock it down. Those are just safety patterns. They're not who we are. We are never the state. We must never confuse ourselves with the state. We're infinitely more resourceful than that. Our brains are powerful, and we can change.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I just recently heard about attachment theory, about the different titles of, that was interesting to me. But it doesn't have to be the title, just like you said, but the information was really good for me to know, so I know what to work with. I haven't read it enough to know what I am yet, but just in conversations, it's been brought up quite a bit into my awareness recently. It's something I'll definitely be checking out.
Yeah, and what I did is my book is like, so we know what attachment is. By the time a child is 1 to 1.5 years old, they have what's called an attachment style. I call it a love style, and it will track the rest of their life. That early, 1 to 1.5. And my book asks the questions: what tells a 1 and a 1.5 year baby that they're loved? If you separate a baby from the mom based on how they treat the reunion, you can tell how they're going to relate for the rest of their life, barring intervention. And so I asked, so what could possibly tell a child at 1 that they're loved? Well, it's not identity. I am AJ or I am Gary. None of that stuff's going on. It's not story, because the prefrontal cortex isn't online to 3. It's not limiting beliefs, because it takes, that doesn't come on to 3. It's not logic. It's feelings. The only thing online are feelings. And that's why in the book I say it's these 4 feelings that give us these rights. But if we can restore the feelings of welcome with joy, I am worthy to be worthy. I am cherished and protected. I am empowered with choice. I have a right to have those feelings. Once we run them at our core, we're secure. We just will automatically act and feel better. That's the beauty of the book. It's if we can track the 4 feelings that tell us we're loved or not, whether we are taking them or receiving them in a relationship, we are in touch with our brain's natural GPS for love. Now we know if we're really loved. We don't get into head games. Oh, but, they've got all these really great qualities. No, do I feel welcomed? Do I feel worthy? Do I feel cherished? Do I feel empowered? And am I getting that? If you're in a relationship and you're looking at some of your patterns and you're not giving those to your spouse, chances are your spouse or your partner does not feel loved. It's a simple and elegant look at what tells us we're loved and how we can reclaim our right to love better.
It's really great that you break it down into those 4 feelings, because it does make it very clear and to the point. I want to get into that just a little bit more when we get back. We are going to have to take a quick break, however. You are listening to Soul Wanderings here on KGRAradio.com, and we will return shortly to continue our wandering with our guest, Dr. Gary Salyer.
Hi, this is Matt Ray for MySleepAllNight.com, and most of us don't even realize that almost all of the healing, learning, and rejuvenating that happens in our body happens only when we are deeply asleep. Now, if you have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, it's likely you never consistently achieve that crucial level of deep sleep. Deep restorative sleep is the key to health, mood, productivity, longevity, memory, you name it. So many health benefits. To experience what deep sleep feels like, try the new dietary supplement Sleep All Night, formulated by scientist Kurt Hendricks. And sleep like your life depends on it, because, let's be honest, it does. Head on over to MySleepAllNight.com. That's MySleepAllNight.com. Enter the promo code RADIO for 20% off your purchase. Again, head on over to MySleepAllNight.com. Enter the promo code RADIO. That's MySleepAllNight.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to try to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. And recently I started having a nagging bicep pain and I couldn't lift weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend of mine, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in the veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone and I'm back in the gym full strength. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. ANGIOPRIM.com. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim helps promote cardiovascular health. Talk to a trained consultant, or you can call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-8221. That's 877-882-7221. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hello, you are listening to Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York. You can find Soul Wanderings here as well as many other platforms for your convenience, like iTunes, TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, all of those good ones. And make sure you guys are following us on our official KGRA Radio on YouTube. That's where the latest show archives are being placed currently. So, wherever you guys are joining us from tonight, thank you. We're so happy to have you here wandering with us this evening. If you guys have questions for our guests, we're headed into the second half of our wandering and still have time for you to ask. So make sure you hop into that chat room by going to kgraradio.com/chat. We've been visiting with Dr. Gary Salyer this evening. He's the author of Safe to Love Again: How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. I just think that's such a great title. Once again, Gary, I like it better. I do like it better than the other one you had in mind.
Yeah.
Everyone wants
I do
to feel safe and love. It definitely turned it into a positive. Before the break, you brought up the 4 feelings that you discuss in your book, which were welcomed, worthy, cherished, and empowered. And are those just questions that you would ask yourself to just validate where you are, or where you maybe could use some work?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you a story about how to use them from a single to couple.
Okay, perfect.
So this is your new GPS for love. A lot of times, when you're on Tinder, especially, or something like Match, there's all these, what do you want? You got your checklist, right? Oh, gosh, I'd like to have 6'2", really good-looking doctor and MD, and red dots, EST, and oh, my God, yoga or Pilates would be wonderful, right? So I had a single woman come to me, and then the first session was, I think I found Mr. Jackpot. I'm always interested in Mr. Jackpot, especially the first session, right? Oh, I said, tell me about it. Oh, he's like 6'2", he's really good-looking, and he's a doctor. And he even loves Pilates. Cool. And so now about 5-6 weeks later, she comes in. She goes, I can't believe this guy. She goes, he stands me up on dates. She goes, and when he goes to Pilates, he's just checking out other women. Not much cherished and protected there, right? Not much empowered with choice. And it turns out those are her missing rights. She had way more right to separate than to belong, didn't have a right to create her own experience, right? Mm-hmm. So she's picked somebody that she had exactly the rights for. She didn't have a right to really belong, so she found a guy that would leave her alone a lot. Or that didn't properly cherish her as a woman and was always checking out the other women at Pilates. So when we work on those, she stops that relationship. And then as we restore those, it's interesting. She goes back online. And this time, she's got 2 guys. One guy, you guessed it, is tall, good-looking, and this time he's an attorney, right? And the other guy is decent enough looking. He's got a good, stable job, a little, maybe about 20 pounds overweight, and he shows up in a Hawaiian shirt instead of a really nice Italian suit. And as she dates him, she goes, the one guy has everything on the checklist, but this man makes me feel like a queen. I feel so cherished and empowered for the first time in my life. Bingo, Yahtzee. She chooses him, and they have a great relationship. When you use these 4 feelings, if you're out there, just ask yourself, not what is the checklist, but when you go out for a month or 2, you use the checklist. Do I feel welcomed? Do it with joy. Do I feel worthy? Do I feel cherished and protected and empowered with choice? Those are the feelings. If those are there, it's got a chance of being a pretty good relationship. But what I tell people, if one's missing, and you're a couple especially, you're thinking, gosh, we could do, we need some work. Wonder if there's some workshop we could do. If 2's missing, you're thinking, what's my best friend's therapist number? And if 3 or 4 are missing, you're in a toxic relationship. Mm-hmm. And for couples, I tell my couples to use this as their checklist. On Sunday nights, you simply use this. Am I giving and receiving? It's just as important to give these 4 feelings. So on Sunday night, you say, honey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I do as your partner this week? Anything under a 9? And you simply say, what was the feeling you were missing? Was it welcomed, worthy, cherished, and how can I help better? So when the couple can make these micro adjustments, I gave you an 8 because when I came home a couple nights of the week, you were so engrossed on your iPad that I wondered if you even knew I was in the same room. And you're not always like that, but this week I felt a little lonely. I didn't do much welcome with joy. I need to work on that. That's how you use feelings as singles or couples. Monitor the feelings, and you'll know what the relationship needs.
That's so good. That's good stuff, Gary. And it creates a place for conversation and communication to happen with one another in an open and safe environment, because you're on the same page of having those 4 questions come up for you.
Exactly. And nobody's perfect in a relationship, nor am I. Nobody's perfect. We're always needing to make these repairs. So let's have some humility, right? Some years ago, I was dating someone, and I was writing the manual for my couples retreat, and it became kind of the basis of the book, to be honest with you. And I waited 8 days before the retreat to write it up. So I'm having to furiously write up 150 pages in about 3-4 days. And at one day, she calls and she goes, "Hi, honey." I said, I'm just getting started today. Let me call you a little bit later. Okay. I don't call her because I'm really busy and I'm doing the work of love, right? And she calls me again. I go, I just got involved with this new section. I'll call you back. Okay. She calls a third time. And I said, I gotta finish. I gotta finish this thing. Okay. She calls back the 4th, and I give her that same storyline, and she goes, "Fine." She gets up. The irony being, I'm writing, and I want to finish this section, and I'm writing a section on turning toward your beloved's bids for attention and support. Not against, not away. And I stop, and I look up to the universe, and I say, "You've got a warped sense of humor." And I call her, and she goes, "I don't feel very welcomed with joy, Dr. Salyer." And caught barehanded.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you should. She goes, "You're darn right I shouldn't." And I said, "I'm sorry. I did a lousy job of making you feel welcome with joy or even worthy." She goes, "And you can add cherished in there too." I go, "Yes, indeed, honey." Now, and I listened to her. And then once I listened to her about 20 minutes later, she goes, "Okay, get back and do that." Those are the repairs. Now, what did I do? I had to do, there's some skills, but above all, I let her know she was welcomed and worthy and cherished again.
Yeah.
That's what calmed her.
Yeah, we just need to hear that every once in a while.
Absolutely.
And that's a thing, wouldn't you say, with men in general, and not to categorize by any means, but because women are so in touch with their feelings and men are a work in progress. But wouldn't you say that maybe with your clients you see it, I'm sure you do with your clients, not even a maybe, but women are just so much more emotional, and they need that validation from their partner because men don't really speak it or show it as well as a woman would. Most women.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest thing with men, I have to, when they're trying to love their wives, right, or their partners, and they think fix it is the thing. I go, no,
right.
You fixed it. You throw gasoline on that fire. All you want to feel. And a lot of men truly don't have the vocabulary because it's not just, the male sex role has done a number on us.
Yes.
Okay? There's not enough bad mothers out there to explain how so many men don't have their feelings. There's just not. It's a problem of how masculinity. And the way I tell men, I said, it's true, women have emotional processes on both sides of their brain, and you only have it on your right side. And that was because 10,000 years ago, if you're out hunting and that boar or that aardvark comes running after you and you're hunting it, you had better get logical. You don't want feelings. You want to be able to fix the problem. But that doesn't help you. I said, now the problem with the male sex role is it's told us to live in attack mode. But you have a right to be in your right brain. We were only supposed to be there when the animal was turning against us or when we were in danger. We were never meant to live in our left brain without our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We were never meant to live in our fix-it brain. We were meant to live in our right brain, and then when the emergency called for it, we had this ability. I said, so if you really want to restore all of your rights as a man, get in touch with your feelings. I said, and besides, we make promises to women all the time. I will fight any wild beast. I will climb any mountain. I will cross any sea. Just don't make me look at my feelings. I go, what sort of manhood is that?
Right.
Oh,
It
come
is a
on
thing.
now. It's a feeling, not a man-eating beast.
Right. You don't need to feel. But that in a way that is a feeling because I feel I'm not a guy by any means, but they're taking care of their family. I mean, that's their instinct right there is, to go hunt and provide for their family.
Yes, and if we're going to provide, if we want to provide, but we need to provide emotions. We need to provide safety. We need to provide these 4 feelings.
Mm.
If we went out into the world because we wanted to bring home protein. That was kind of, when no man or caveman thought of it there, but we had to bring in a full balanced diet. Well, the hunterness can still come out and bring back the 4 feelings home. We can still be a provider that way. I'm just saying that we can be emotional providers. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I agree. And not just because I'm a woman. I just think it's so empowering for men to be in touch with their feelings.
It is. And I'll be honest with you. There was a long period of time where, like many men, I thought women were a very big cosmic mystery. Who could understand them? And it's the cosmic joke of all time. But it's because women are not that hard to read if you can just be in touch with feelings. Their feelings are an open book to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still remember when I finally did the work and made it safe for me in touch with my feelings and still be a man. And I remember journaling one night, and I said, it's like a blind man getting sight in his 50s. It was like seeing the world. And I said, no wonder certain things happened. The clues were all there. They were right. They just wanted me to read them, right? But what men do is, like, I can still remember, when I was really into my head with that missing right to exist. I deeply loved my first wife. And I knew she wasn't happy, and I knew she didn't feel loved. So I went out and read some books, like a good PhD on women, right? I memorized what the books said about in a good intellectual way. And I would quote, and when she would say things, the book says this. Well, the book says women want this. And one day in exasperation, she goes, Gary, read me, not the darn books. Read me. But because I couldn't read feelings, I was blind. I didn't have the radar. But these days, it's like the whole, now I can see all the feelings. And it's like being in an airport, and I get to be the air traffic controller. Now I can tell what planes need to be landed and which don't. I can see the whole thing. And it's just so much more civil than watching planes, try to land at the same time and wondering what went wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're really not that complicated, I don't feel.
No, it's not as bad as what men think. But when you don't have the radar, the emotional radar, you can't be in touch with your feelings. It's a tough climb.
I also used to think that men were complicated, and you brought up earlier that men just want to fix it. And the first time I ever even heard of that concept was maybe like 15, 20 years ago when I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And it made so much sense to me. Of course, that's like their love language, if you will. They want to fix things because they want everything, quote unquote, happy and in order. And that's their way of taking care of us is by fixing it. Where we just want to talk about something, not necessarily ask them to fix it because it doesn't need to be fixed. We're just talking with our, sharing our feelings. And that book really helped me a lot. That book opened my eyes quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, John Gray's on the cover. He recommended the book. She's a good friend. And he's right. I wouldn't call it a cosmic joke, but under pressure, under stress, women's brains throw 8 times the blood flow out of the emotional processes. Under stress and pressure, men's brains throw 8 times the amount of blood flow at the logical, fix-it, problem-solving centers. And, of course, their natural instincts betray them very, very deeply. Mm-hmm. One of the things I have all my couples get into a practice of is called the stress-reducing conversation. And for 10 minutes after every day, or at least 5 times a week, 4 or 5, you sit down and you're an ally. You just say, honey, how was your day? And you just attend to the feelings, not an ounce of fix it. Gosh, that must have been terrible. Tell me more. Oh, wow, you must have felt really lost when all that happened. What was the worst part of that feeling? And that fixes it. That keeps the stress out. It keeps the connection. I had one couple I worked with, and he resisted it, like a lot of it. And then they said, oh, let's just go do it. They did it, and over the next 2 weeks, their relationship changed. Suddenly, with this when feelings are normalized and the stress-reducing conversation keeps the stress out of the relationship, suddenly they just have a way better connection. Mm-hmm. Turns out that the bedroom things go a lot better after she feels connected. Everybody's happier. Just little things like this. It's feelings, just feelings.
It really is. Yes. Being a woman and having the frustration of being around men who lack the ability to communicate in that way in the past, it's very frustrating because the answer really is so simple. And we're just so amazing at overcomplicating it. I mean, maybe that's our humanness, but either way, it really is so simple. And that stress-reducing conversation that you brought up, wow, that could solve so many issues in a relationship. So many.
Oh, if a woman could count on 10 to 15 minutes of her man being attentive to her feelings, or even if you're not heterosexual, just 2 partners, your other partner can, then that would do miracles for that relationship. I can still remember one couple. They were both psychologists, but she was organizational psychology, and then she was at a large corporation being an organizational psychologist, and it was very competitive. So she didn't get her normal, female culture. It was kind of cutthroat where she was at. It was a big country. And what she said, she goes, when I come home at night, I am starved to talk about I'm starved for female attention. She goes, but when I come home, there's just him. She goes, but then I walk in and I'm starved for a conversation about my feelings, and there he stands. And if he's a wise husband, he'll attend to her feelings. That's the most loving thing we can do.
Yeah.
And the thing with men is it's simple. All you have to think is, what is she needing? Does she feel more welcome? Does she need to feel welcomed? Honey, looks like you've had a hard day. Come over and get a hug. Does she feel more worthy? She needs something. She wants to reach out to you. Does she just need to feel cherished, or does she need to feel empowered? That's not rocket science. Even kids can understand. Can I tell you a story about how this works with kids?
Oh, yes. I would love that. That'd be great.
I was working with a young couple. They came to me some years ago, doctor and his wife. Kids that kind of knocked them from 10 to about a 5. And they had a good relationship. They just wanted to make sure the trend line went back up again. And they had a 3 and a 5-year-old. And they so liked these 4 feelings, and it just revolutionized their marriage, right? Just watching those. Because he said, now I know what to fix, like a good surgeon, right? But and so they got these coffee cups I had at the time. They had the 4 feelings on it, and they took them home and they talked to their 3 and 5-year-old about the 4 feelings. So they had these sippy cups with the 4 feelings on them, right? And after a couple months, they talked. I was curious about it. We need to welcome. We need to worthy. One day, the day came that the 2 brothers are playing, and the 3-year-old takes a truck and whacks the 5-year-old across the head with the truck. And the 5-year-old turns to the 3-year-old and says, "I don't feel very cherished and protected."
No, you did not.
you gotta love that 5-year-old. And I've had other parents that taught it. And one little 8-year-old girl, they're walking into a PTA meeting, and they're walking down the corridor at their school at night, and she goes, "Daddy, see that teacher?" She says, "Yes." She doesn't do Welcome with Joy very well.
Aww.
Imagine when these children grow up and they are using these feelings to make and create relationships. When those 2 little boys grow up to be boyfriends and husbands, they're going to have some very happy wives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll avoid so many conflicts.
So
it
it's
really
not,
is.
it's right. If 3 and 5-year-olds can get it, anybody on the call can get it.
But it is a lot different with grown men. We're just as we're older, even women, we're just so set in our ways. It is a lot more challenging to change or believe that it would work after you feel like you've tried everything else.
It is. And when we get set in our ways, it's because some part of us has thought that there's more me than we, and I need to depend on the me. All great couples, they need that behavioral flexibility, the right to create your own experience. And I talk about this in the book, that when I'm dealing with couples, my real client is not the 2 me's, it's the we that's between them. And the we must have rights. The we must have a right to create its own experience so that there can be new options. We can't get into ruts. The biggest thing that stops older couples is what I call single identity. And single identity comes in like, where are we going to live together? Your place or mine? If they both own property. Or we can't give up, or they don't really go together and meld. They are clinging tightly to their single lifestyle. And the we is in a straitjacket called the things that helped me survive my last breakup, but they won't create a we. Mm-hmm. So it's about giving. One of the things we have to do in older, it's empowered with choices, yes, a little more complicated than a 3 or 5-year-old, but it's still about giving choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And new choices to the we that work for both.
Yeah, definitely. We just have a couple of minutes before our last break, but I have a handful of questions for you. So I'm not sure if you can answer this one in a minute and a half-ish. But Bill wanted to know, how do you go forward with a present or a future companion without carrying the past pain, mistrust, and negative feelings?
Wow. So the biggest thing is to, whatever those past pain is, we have to find out, we have to release them. A lot of times what stops people are grievances. Grievances is when we have a lawsuit against the universe or the other sex because of how we got hurt, and we have to drop those charges. That's one, the short answer in 45 seconds. And it's restoring the feelings that got hurt. So if we felt unworthy, then we have to restore the feeling of worthy. If it was uncherished, or for men, you're probably feeling not honored or not appreciated more than cherished, then it's restoring that feeling. If we can restore the feelings and drop the lawsuit that we have against the universe, we can move on. We can drop, and we can go on and create a love that really lasts.
It just feels really warm and fuzzy, and I can just hear it from some of my friends, like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. But I really feel like that is it. That's the ticket. Everything that you have said makes complete sense. And it really is so simple. We are so great at overcomplicating it and making something that is really rather small into something big, big enough for us to even get divorced over or break up with our partner over.
Now, in actual practice, it can take a couple of sessions to really drop these charges, and it can take multiple sessions to restore feelings. But it's not it's not decades of change, not years of change. But yes, it can be. I'm having to simplify it in a few seconds.
Right.
But this is doable change. It does take a little work and commitment, but it is doable change, nevertheless. Someone knows what they're doing. Yeah.
I agree. That's good. We're going to take our last break for the evening, like I said, and when we return, we'll get to share a little more time with our guest, Dr. Gary Salyer. We'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to try to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. And recently I started having a nagging bicep pain and I couldn't lift weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend of mine, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in the veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and I'm back in the gym full strength. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com, ANGIOPRIM.com. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim helps promote cardiovascular health. Talk to a trained consultant, or you can call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-8221. That's 877-882-7221. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRAradio.com.
Hello, welcome back to Soul Wanderings here on KGRAradio.com. I am AJ Rasmussen, and our guest this evening is Dr. Gary Salyer. He is the author of Safe to Love Again. And Gary, you've shared tons of phenomenal information that took you years and years and years to experience. So we are getting it in Cliff Notes in the last 2 hours, which is so fantastic. Thank you. But I highly do recommend that everyone go out and purchase this book, which you can do on Amazon. Safe to Love Again: How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. Gary, we have some questions from the chat room.
Oh.
So the first one is, if you can only give one tip for two people in a relationship, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. Manage the little moments, and the big moments take care of themselves. That was my toast to my son at his wedding last year. You know, we get these ideas that love is the big moments. It's the wedding. It's the 3 dozen roses we send at Valentine's Day. When I'm dealing with couples, it's the little moments. It's the little moment where she just wants a 6-second kiss when you leave the door to say, I will think about you today. And, oh, no, we're really busy. Or we just need someone to turn to us and listen for a few moments. Manage the little moments, and the relationship takes care of itself. It really is being attentive to little, tiny moments.
Good advice. Thank you. Another question, and we have two that are very similar, so I'll ask one and we'll lead into the other. But what can a person do when they are dealing with the midlife crisis of being alone and it feels like time is running out for them to find a relationship?
Okay, it feels like time is running out. You know, I have met, that feeling isn't actually age. I've actually had 30-year-olds and 70-year-olds tell me that. I remember working with one 70-year-old, and she said, well, you know, I'm too old to find a man. But what it really was, you know, the brain loves to make up excuses for things, but what she didn't have was a full right to love and be loved. And I remember her saying, I just want a relationship. I don't want a marriage, you know. And she had never been married, right? After the first session, we found out that she, from her relationship with her father, didn't have a full right to love and be loved. She had way more right to love others, but not so much to be loved. The second session, she comes in and she goes, so, if I'm reading right, the reason I told you the first session I don't want a marriage is because I didn't have a right to truly be loved. And I said, you said it. See, the brain already took the right. It already, once it absorbed it, it knew where to go with it. You know, a couple months later, we work on that, and lo and behold, 68-year-old guy asked her out. Imagine that. And that went like a month, and then she dated somebody else that was a little better for her. And I get this text one day that says, "We're up in Napa. We just made love for the first time." Love is possible at any age.
That is incredible.
It really is. You deserve love. You were born, and you have a lifelong need for it. And we have an epidemic of unworthiness in this society. The divorce rate at 50%. I mean, and if you're single, it's, you know, when we look at all those lists, how many of us feel like we can measure up? And then there's all the, you know, it's like paranoia is what I heard a word the other. We feel like we're being compared, or we're getting ghosted, or we're being stood up all the time, right? You know, or we're, you know, swiping left. And no woman wants to be swiped left, doesn't be swiped off her feet. She wants to be swept off her feet.
I agree.
But, not swiped, but swept off her feet. But we deserve. And if there's any message behind this book, is you were born with these rights. They come with being human. You don't have to earn them. These are your birthright from the universe. And that epidemic of unworthiness, because unworthy people don't reach out for love, and then they have to explain it. And a lot of times, hopelessness is a way to protect the brain. And this is a funny little thing. The brain says, oh, you know, there are no good ones out there, or I'm too old, or the good ones are all taken. And it's a way of protecting them from getting in a relationship where they'll get hurt again. Hopelessness is usually an end run around. If I can't stop the Groundhog Day, then I'll say there's no one there or I'm too old. We're afraid of the Groundhog Day. But if we can restore the feelings of worthy and cherished, empowered, and give ourselves some skills in relationships, that Groundhog Day doesn't exist. And suddenly we see that there are so many possibilities out there. There are good. I have tons of women say there are no good ones left in there. I said, well, I have tons of men that will say there are no good ones left out there. And I swear, they just need to find each other, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not maybe those two clients, but they're out there. But our brain deletes possibilities and creates hopeless as a way of protecting us.
Yeah.
If we can deal with the past pain, the brain doesn't need hopelessness like that. That's how I answer that.
Fantastic answer once again. It really is a thing too. We give up on ourselves so easily, thinking that there just isn't anyone out there for me, or I'm not good enough for anyone out there. It's just, it's heartbreaking. I hear it all of the time. It really is.
There's such a state of unworthiness out there.
There is.
And
there is.
I can still remember I was speaking on stage in Phoenix. A woman, 28, 32, says, in the last 5 relationships, every man has broken up with me 3 to 4 months into it, saying, "Baby, there must be someone else better out there." That whole fear of missing out. She goes, "What am I, chopped liver?" This is what the internet. It is giving us a feeling of worthy. That woman was worthy, right? That woman was worthy. She was born worthy. Now, there's ways you can screen out some of those guys. There really are. You can kind of notice it. But we have a right to feel worthy, and don't let anybody take it away from you. And when you feel more worthy, you'll start attracting more people who know you're worthy.
I agree. I did that. I went through my own, because, I feel like everyone goes through it, but I went through my own place of not feeling worthy, and I was attracting all kinds of people who just validated that I wasn't worthy. And I just don't mean relationships, friendships, work relationships, all kinds of things. But once I learned my worth and the value of who I am, everything shifted. The people, the places, the experiences, my life got more rich. And it really was in changing the way that I thought about myself and the people around me. And it made that reality real for me.
And I'll bet if you think about it, you're probably thinking of the way you felt about yourself. You felt worthy. Years and years ago, these feelings always go out. I call it in the book, love is the operating system. The brain swaps out what we learn in love for the rest of life. A woman came to me, and she felt very unworthy. She was always giving and giving and giving. And she had 2 types of men that she attracted: married men that couldn't give her what she really wanted, or takers. And she was in a bad relationship with, and when we start working on this, the right to have her needs met and restoring the feeling of worthy, eventually she drops this guy, right? Now, this is what's really interesting. Then, and yes, she did eventually find a good man that knew how to give to her. But then a couple sessions later, she comes in. So once we start giving back the feeling of worthy and the right, the brain starts taking it elsewhere. Same way it would unworthy, right? But this time it's worthy going on. She goes, "Hey, I've got a roommate that I share the apartment costs with." She goes, "She's a taker too. I just realized that." Soon she swaps out and gets a better roommate. She was also starting her own business, and she's an entrepreneur. And then a couple of weeks later, she comes in about a month later, and she goes, "I think I see these same patterns that I had with men in my business, because I'm always giving away freebies. I don't ever charge my value. Do you think that's related to my mission?" And I go, "Exactly." The brain, by the time she was done working on her relationship, she had a better relationship, a better roommate, and a better business. All from one feeling. Worthy. It'll change your life.
Words are powerful. Your thoughts are powerful. That's for sure. Going back to the question where when I asked you about the midlife crisis of being alone, this one where I said was a similar question, but this is, what is the key to helping couples with the midlife crisis?
With the helping couples with the midlife crisis.
Yeah, so
okay.
You got it.
Wow, that's a complicated question. Now, let me explain what happens to couples with these rights. So we always are having the experience we have the rights for. So we don't have a right to feel worthy. We find people who will be in a relationship with us to take. If we don't have a right to feel empowered and create our experience, we'll find someone to dominate us, or we'll lose ourselves conveniently, right? Couples always select someone who matches their missing right. The way this works is, and then they get upset about it. Because some part says, I'd like to have it better, but another one said, was it safe, me not reaching out? No, we're good. So they find someone that will, and couples always have what I call dueling missing rights. Let me explain how this works. One couple that I work with, she had grown up in an alcoholic family, and you don't want to belong in an alcoholic family. It was very abusive, especially the father. So you want to belong with that? No, you have way more right to separate. Separate feels better than getting beat. That's the way it works. Brain took the best deal. But she was dying to feel cherished, to protected, dying to belong. And she had more of what's called an anxious attachment. She went through 2 divorces, and her fiance, when they came to me, was a man who was about 3 years out of a 26-year marriage. And his thing from childhood was he never felt empowered with choice, had no right to create his experience, no right to assert. What's that mean? In 26 years of marriage, this man never initiated sex one time. I was almost floored when I heard that. That's pretty disempowered for a guy, Now, but if you know that, and I discussed this in the book, that one time, his overbearing father put him on the wrong bus to go to school, and he knew it was the wrong bus, but said, son, I know the best thing. And he had no right to assert. He went to the wrong school, and he knew it. So when they get together, the date comes when the ex-wife and kids say, we don't want the new one around for Christmas. And what's he got? He has no right to create his experience. He has no right to assert. So he says, okay, let's just make everybody happy. We won't come over. He decides to come over, and he tells her, we'll celebrate Christmas the next day. What's this hit in her? Her old right to separate but not belong. Now she doesn't feel cherished. This is her old missing right. She finds him that gives her the same feeling, right, of uncherished, and then she comes after him, right? Because she had a right to assert, trust me, and she just totally disempowers him. And now they're in a downward cycle. He doesn't feel empowered. He can't cherish her. When she doesn't feel cherished, she feels not cherished, not belonging to she disempowers him. Disempowerment and uncherished and protected, spiraling downwards, about ready to break out. When we give him back a right to create his experience, a right to assert, and he feels empowered, not just a right, it's the feeling of empowered that he feels in his guts. He stands up and says, hey, this is the woman I love. Deal with it. When she feels included and cherished, she empowers him. What's that look like? He loses his job. She's a very high, powerful entrepreneur. Helps him find a job within a month or two. And now they spiral up. Now they're feeding each other cherished and empowered versus their old missing rights. Suddenly their dueling patterns are not dueling, but they are from going from trigger, they go from treasuring. Now they're treasuring each other instead of triggering each other. Now it goes up, and then they get married. This is what happens. So whatever's going on in a relationship, it's always going to revolve in a marriage or a partnership around the dueling missing rights. And the key is to get the partners to make the pattern the problem and not the partner. First move. The pattern, the missing rights are the problem, not the partner. Restore the missing rights, and then suddenly now they're we working on the pattern, not each other. This is a huge shift. This is what we means. Now they're a we up against the pattern. Now they can support each other against the pattern. They can love each other against the pattern. Now suddenly the pattern dissipates, and now there's room for the we. And everybody feels good about a we. Show me a couple without a we, and I'll show you a war. So somewhere in there, in midlife, probably people have gotten stuck so long in their little dueling patterns that they're tired, they're fatigued, they're hopeless, they want out, and they, but they'll take those patterns with them. Mm-hmm. So the key is to show them, you married each other for exactly this experience. Now, how can we get your brain to choose better?
Yeah, that's good. Everything you say, I'm just like, yeah, that's good. That's good, Gary. I just feel like so many people would benefit greatly by, if they're not listening to the show and what you have to say, definitely buying the book or a combination of both, of course. I just want to give everyone this book, and I haven't even read it yet. It's going to help so many people.
Well, thank you. And the book comes with, there's a little, some free gifts, a little, I call it, perceptual filter guide. And the book shows on the website, where you can go, it's free gifts. And there's 4 little, transformational exercises that help people get in touch with these missing rights. So it's meant, the whole book and the free gifts that come with it are meant to be a total transformational experience, as much as you can put into a book. I mean, the deep work is really something I do one-on-one. You can't put that in a book. It really is a one-on-one thing. Mm-hmm. But what I hear more from readers who have read it is it was eye-opening and life-changing. You'll never see love the same way. It'll just be hey, this is doable with a few changes, with a few different feelings. Mm-hmm. I can have the love I deserve too, because everybody deserves a love that lasts.
Definitely agree. So is that something that is possible for you to take clients long distance?
I do.
Okay.
Most of my clients are actually all across the world. I have it all except for Asia at the moment, and across the country. I do one-on-one sessions on Zoom. They're usually an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. There's reasons for that. But yeah, I work with people across the world.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. We have another question from the chat room. And this one, like going back to where I said a widget's a widget, I'm just going to ask the question. I'm pretty sure that you've answered it just in a different way because it was a different platform. But if a partner says that dog, cat, bird, whatever it is, goes, or I do, what do you advise? So, it's an ultimatum.
I always want to know what the whole scenario is. Okay? Yeah. What if the person is deathly allergic to the dog? That's not exactly cherished and protected. There's all sorts of scenarios here. But for me, I don't usually go with ultimatums. Now, occasionally, I've seen it where a woman has to tell a man, hey, we're either going into therapy or not, or we're not going to make it, right? Because it's been too long. But I would say, there's somewhere in there, shared influence is not happening. Real good couples, they listen, they understand what good thing is coming on. Maybe she's really attached to her dog and cat, right? What's going on with him? They need to learn how to truly listen in a way without trying to persuade each other. Most couples, when they argue, they listen only to make a counterpoint. This is deadly. And then they wonder why they can't communicate and they can't, and because no one feels felt, no one feels understood. The key is to really listen for 10 or 15 minutes and suspend persuasion until you can reiterate back, reflect back what their position is and not make any defensive remarks. And then to hear back. And then to switch where the other person listens to the other side, not defending, but just to understand. Now, if you can get that, then they can become friends again. This this thing that's going on between them is probably because they've lost the marital friendship, and friends and enemies don't compromise.
Mm.
So at some point in time, underneath this conflict, I can tell you that marital friendship is in deep doo-doo. Okay, and at some point, one or more of those four feelings are missing. So the key is to restore the marital friendship, to turn more toward each other's kids for understanding. And the key little micro moment is the moment they say something, oh no, that didn't mean that, or I disagree, or that's wrong. To say, no, you don't have to agree with it. Tell me more about that.
Mm.
What's the worst part of that, honey? To sit down and to say, for 15 minutes, you have my attention. I will only try to understand you. And then when the other person says, yes, I feel felt, then for the other person to have the grace to say, okay, now you. Well, honey, this is how I feel about the dog, or the cat, And once people really get what's the worst part of it, how they're feeling, does it trigger anything from childhood? Usually when they get to understanding, there's some way they can compromise and share influence. But I guarantee you, if there's ultimatums, the friendship is in a bad place, and enemies don't compromise.
No.
So they've got to work on the friendship.
Yeah, I would agree. Wow. I was just sitting there thinking of when I was listening to you how I've witnessed that recently with ultimatums, not in my personal life, but with a few of my clients, and how that can also create a lot of other emotions, like, fear, or the unworthiness that we talked about, and how damaging it could be to one another to even throw that out there.
Oh, yeah. Ultimatums can be very, very deadly. Yeah, but sometimes they are necessary. Now, this is all situational. Like, I was, there really does need to be change in the marriage, and the other one doesn't want to do any changes. Sometimes they have to say, look, we either work on it or it's not going to make it. That is an ultimatum, sometimes I have to empower women to make that choice, because we have a right to feel love, not to just stay in a marriage. There's a difference.
There is a difference.
That's right. I'm about lasting love, not lasting marriages, even if they suck, right? I'm not, or they're abusive. It's about lasting love, and yeah. So, and everybody deserves that lasting love. And, and the one thing about these stuck states is my favorite thing I've ever heard, there's no such thing as a stuck person. There's only stuck states.
There's only stuck what?
There's no such thing as a person who is stuck. Just a stuck state. Mm-hmm. It's just a state that won't move. Whatever's going on between them, they got two states that are locked in because of both of their positions. And this little ultimatum thing, I guarantee you, at some level, they're both, like lizards fighting for their territoriality because it feels safe. Mm-hmm. They both got to find out what is so precious and that they can't survive without their position. Now, once we understand that, that's friendship.
Mm.
Yeah, people fight.
I love the dialogue and the communication that you are asking people to have with one another to get through this. It's so fantastic.
Love is a high bar. Love is a high bar. It takes a lot, it doesn't take rocket science, but it does take some conscious effort and decisions.
Yes.
There are moments that all of us fail, and I have to say, I sometimes get defensive too, and I will say something because I like being right. Ooh, I like being right. I got 3 initials after my name. I wrote the book.
I do too.
And that's the work. I like it to work. And I sometimes will catch myself after a sentence or two and think, no, reflect back the feeling. No, just try to understand them. And I have to check my ego. I have an ego too, like everybody, and I have to check my ego. And you just monitor, go, oh, no, those last two sentences suck. And I'll say, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. How are you really feeling about that?
Right. Gosh, I wish we had more time. This is really fantastic information. And I appreciate you spending the last 2 hours with us, sharing what you were able to share. There is obviously so much more, you guys. I really encourage you to grab the book, Safe to Love Again: How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. And Gary, why don't you throw out your website really quick before we say goodbye?
It's my name, www.Gary, G-A-R-Y, Salyer, SALYER.com. You're there, and there's also there's a free gift of some short 2 to 4 minute videos that go over some things in the book, teach some skills. It's got John Gray and Ariel Ford and Sark, and one couple that was engaged that had saved their marriage. So there's some free gifts there in terms of cool videos. It's GarySalyer.com, and
Perfect.
Of course there's ways to contact me.
Yes, and order the book from his website.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, he's there on Amazon.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you for being here with us and sharing space. It's been wonderful meeting you and hearing about your experiences and your research and your passion in sharing all things love.
And AJ, it has been an honor. Thank you very much. And together we've been a we to help create more love in the world, and I thank you for that honor.
Yes, thank you. That is so beautiful. Soul Wanderings can be found on all the main social media platforms as well as soulwanderings.com. You might as well just go over there because all of the links are right there on the site. And of course, make sure you are following KGRA Radio on Facebook, on Stellar, YouTube, all those places. And let's continue to have these amazing conversations that bring awareness and inspiration and motivation and movement into our experiences. The stuff that feels good. A big shout out and thank you to both of my producers tonight, Bill and Eric. You guys are awesome. Thank you for allowing me to have a live show this evening. And to the rest of you, my wanderers, I appreciate you with my whole entire heart. Thank you for being here and have a happy day.